yeah, I mean, so like I didn't even know I didn't even know how to wear a suit. I ever needed a suit before in my life. So my family all put their money together, like got me like a $700 suit. So I'm like I'm like, the first time wearing a suit down there, looking all nice. The building was all nice, and then it like hit me like, I'm not gonna get in this school. I'm not at 2.8. Like, there's no way. I wanted to scream at them. Like I feel like not that I need this, and yeah, I want it, but not even that I deserve it. I feel like this is the next step. This is the next, step for me. And I was like, well, I was like, I know everything you see in front of you, like the application, my GPA, like everything, all the lack of whatever I have doesn't bode well for me and from a competitive standpoint. But I know you can look through all those applications. You'll never find somebody that has worked hard as me to sit right in front of you. And I can promise you, if you accept me, tell somebody like, I need to be here, you'll never, ever regret it. You'll never say Aaron shouldn't have been in school. Aaron couldn't have handled it academically. You'll never have those worries. And you'll be proud that I came to this school. I promise you that. And they were like, okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer, whatever. I'm like, okay, well, I just bombed that, whatever. And then like 2 weeks later, I was actually with my mom in an antique shop, and I found out that I got into medical school. Yeah, and I was like kicking things, broke something in an antique shop. Like, I was so excited.
Did you break something for real?
I was at an antique shop, 100%. Broke something, 100%. I don't know where we were, and so I'm like, my mom loves antiques.
Man, that's a hustle. So anybody listening to this right now, zero excuse. You just gave that. I've heard a lot of wild stuff on this podcast, man. That might be one of the most hustle thing I've ever heard on this podcast.
And you know what crazy thing is? I almost didn't go back to school. So like I would go back and forth, like I said, a semester, and then one semester, right before my senior year, I would like. I was buying, selling cars, and my dad was getting more and more sick. Like, unfortunately, like when he was doing the Pee Wee football thing, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. He smoked a lot, and drank a lot, even like before he had us. But anyway, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer when he was when I was like in the early 90s, when he was doing all this football stuff, and like he got the chemo, whatever, radiation, like. And then he just stopped going. Like we didn't have, like I said, we didn't go to the doctor. We just stopped going. He just stopped going one day. And then like, whatever, how many years passed, 10 years passed. And then, he's getting more and more sick, and he had recurrent esophageal cancer. And so
why do you think he stopped going? Just because of the money? Or was it like the healthcare?
I think that it's always a lot of reasons with my dad. One, he's just not the type of man to like ever complain about anything. He's just that still. He's just, that manly of a man that he wouldn't complain regardless if he has metastatic cancer or not. That's just how my dad was raised. That, and like I said, I think he had a certain distrust for healthcare providers, just kind of like how, a lot of older Black men do. I mean, his family were sharecroppers, and that's where they did the syphilis trials down in the South.
Yeah.
But that, and honestly, I think he just wanted to keep it from us. The crazy thing is, and this is me being like young, and you know how like parents try to keep stuff from kids. Honestly, they didn't even tell us. True story, that he really had cancer back then. I just remember like them going upstairs. There would be in a call on the phone, and like it was a doctor and my mom coming down crying. And I remember that like they would like talk, and I would just keep, like, it was 7 of us in a 2-bedroom house. You can't keep anything. Like, I mean, so of course, I mean, I was just like a young, whatever, curious kid. So I like, of course I heard that. And then like, whatever, a few months later, a year later, we never heard of it. And then it just like went to the wayside until it came back. And then you start hearing all the backstory about how it all happened. But they were just trying to keep that from us. We were kids. We didn't have any money. Why add another like problem onto things when we got enough problems? So, yeah, it wasn't until that came full circle when I was in college, and he ended up passing that over that summer. And like I told him, last thing I told him, I was like, one, I'm gonna be a great doctor, because he had always told people I was gonna be a great doctor. I never, like I said, I didn't know anything about medicine, but he was telling people I was gonna be a great doctor during his appointments. I was damn sure I was gonna be a great doctor. And two was I'm gonna take care of my family. Like we had We didn't have anything. Like my dad had worked so hard to try to even give us an opportunity to try to pull our family out of poverty. And so me having the opportunity to be able to do that, I was like 100%, I was going to try to do my best to make sure he didn't have to worry about somebody, taking care of our family or my mom. So those were the last things I told him. And then he had passed that May. And so that final year, I was like when my senior year started, and I was flipping cars, and I was like, one September, or not one Saturday, I made like $5,000 in like 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
You know how much money that is for like a kid like me? I never had any money. I was like, man, do you know how much money I'm making flipping cars? Like, why do I gotta go back to school? Like, I just made like $5,000. Like, why do I gotta go back to school? So I can give all this money back, go back to college, and then like not have any money for myself to pay for anything. Like I'm paying my mom's bills, all kinds of stuff. Like kid not having nothing. Then I'm like 20 years old and I got like, $5-6 in my pocket going to the club, man. It was crazy. I was like, why do I need to do anything? But let me ask you,
did you have a bank account? Would you put that in the,
I did have a bank account. I had a bank account, but not, I had a bank account, but I need the money liquidated often because I need to pick up cars. And if I saw a car for sale, I needed the money so I had like a bank account that had like 10-12 grand in it. But otherwise it was just, I had like straight cash.
I tell you, I remember in college, I knew one of my guys in college used to rap and, producing all that type of stuff. And he would carry I don't know why, he would come to like the gym with like, a stat with like just 10,000 on him. And one day that thing got stolen, man.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Dude,
I needed to get cars.
You can't be walking around with 10K on you, man.
I needed to get cars. But so whatever, like the thing that ultimately made me go back to school is that, I started thinking about it, and I promised my dad I'd be a great doctor. And he didn't care what honestly, this don't sound bad. He didn't care what I did. He didn't even care if I was a thief because we didn't have anything. He was like, if you want to be a thief, that's fine. Just don't get caught and be good at it. I don't care what you are. Just be good at it. I want you to be successful and I want you to be happy. So I mean, that's just how he was. But I told him I was going to be a great doctor. And he had, like I said, he was telling everybody, and he had really, this was when like 2008 or whatever. This is especially when he was getting older and sicker. We'd sit there and watch like Obama do debates and stuff like that. And he'd always say like, why can't you do stuff? Like, there's nothing that stops you from going and like speaking in front of people. There's no difference between you and him from being a leader. Like he would just, and I don't know, not a lot of kids hear that. Not a lot of Black men hear that. And so that was huge for me. And so after he passed and I was thinking about going back to school, I was like, no, I'm going to take all this money back and I was going to go back to school. So I think my bill was like $8,700 at Walsh. And so I went to the bank and they're like, do you want a money? Or I was like, no, I need it straight cash. I want all this in like hundreds. And so
like, man, what is he doing? What's he trying to do with that money?
I took that money, I took the cash, and then I paid off my school, and I saved up the rest of that money to like live off the rest of the year. And then I graduated.
Wow.
True story.
That's a hustle, man. Man, you just messed up a whole lot of people's lives because now they ain't gonna have no excuses anymore. No, but hey, let me show you what Dr. Palmer did. You complain, I'm gonna show you what Dr. Palmer did. All right. First of all, kudos, man. You get the clap. You push the clap button. You get the clap. Tell me about the MCAT then.
Oh,
and let me backtrack. So you're doing all that hustle at the same time, bringing your GPA up. So what do you want to get your GPA up to?
So that's a very good point. So when I started, it was like a 1.8 so when you retake all those courses, whatever. Yes. So I graduated from Wash. My whole goal, and I would try to work the numbers or whatever. I graduated with a 3.19.
Wow. From 1.8.
From a 1.8.
Wow.
The issue is when you apply to medical school, they don't just take all the grades that you scored grading. Like I took organic chemistry, and people are like, "Oh, organic chemistry is so hard, bro." I took organic chemistry 3 times. 3 times. 3 times. I went from F to D to A. True story.
Third time's a charm.
Sometimes you're just like, "Oh, I'm doing what I'm doing." No, it's crashed. And it's like, okay, well, next semester I'm going to crush it, I swear. But I mean, yeah, when you retake all those courses and you apply to the medical school, they include all the F's and the D's too. So when I applied to medical school, I had a 2.86. I applied to medical school. And so, and then when I took the MCAT, like I studied all summer or whatever. I read, I didn't go to any of those courses, but I like bought the books for those courses. Cause of course, like $3,000, $4,000, like I don't have whatever, $4,000 just be thrown away or whatever.
Cars, man.
No, it wasn't even cars, because after I was like, I need to get this, like that summer was to study, right after I graduated. So I was like, whatever. So I just kind of locked myself in a room, put the cars, to the side for a little bit and just, started grinding on studying. I mean, I had taken so many credits that wasn't that bad. But yeah, I took the MCAT, I got a decent score. It wasn't like I crushed it. I got a decent score. And then, I applied. But like, even when you apply with a decent MCAT score and like a 2.6, like the majority of people are not looking at your application. They're not even going to read your personal statement. Your 2.8 doesn't get you through like this whole, filter system. Like whatever. And I would just be like, I know it doesn't sound depressing, but they always give, and I'm sure you remember like those rejection letters you get, like, DARE, whatever, competitive cycle. So like competitive. So I applied to every medical school in the country, like 2011. And
how much that cost? You remember roughly how much that would cost?
No, thousands. And I was just getting rejection letters. And you know how like people like in the movies where they troll people, they put all those like post-its on everything in their entire room, just all posted. Like my entire wall was just all rejection letters. I put them up on the wall because I wanted to, like, I don't know, I wanted to see it when I woke up and I want to see it when I went to sleep. So I was like, this is my goal. I don't care if people are like, whatever, rejecting me, it doesn't matter. I think I can do this. And then I go down, like, even after I graduated, I go down to Dr. Capley and be like, I applied to everywhere and I'm getting rejection letters. I don't know if I'm gonna get into school. And she's like, just, hold on. And somebody's gonna give you a chance. Somebody's gonna read your application. And then sure enough, I got an interview down at Wright State, down in Dayton, Ohio. And I mean, so like I didn't even know I had to wear a suit. I never needed a suit before in my life. So my family all put their money together, like got me like a $700 suit. So I'm like the first time wearing a suit down there, looking all nice. The building was all nice. And then it like hit me like, I'm not going to get in this school. I'm not at 2.8. Like there's no way. And so, you're sitting down there with the application cycle or the alumni are interviewing. I'm like, well, like, is there anything you want us to like tell the admissions committee that, on your behalf, or, they always say, and you just want to like scream at them. Like, I feel like not that I need this, and yeah, I want it, but and not even that I deserve it. I feel like this is the next step. This is the next, step for me. And I was like, well, I know everything you see in front of you, like the application, my GPA, like everything, all the lack of whatever I have doesn't bode well for me and from a competitive standpoint. But I know you can look through all those applications. You'll never find somebody that has worked hard as me to sit right in front of you. And I can promise you, if you accept me, tell somebody like, I need to be here, you'll never, ever regret it. You'll never say Aaron shouldn't have been in school. Aaron couldn't handled it academically. You never have those worries. And you'll be proud that I came to this school. I promise you that. And they were like, okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer, whatever. I'm like, okay, well, I just bombed that, whatever. And then like 2 weeks later, I was actually with my mom in an antique shop. And I found out that I got into medical school. Yeah, and I was like kicking things, broke something in an antique shop. Like, I was so excited.
Did you break something for real?
Huh? I was at an antique shop, 100%. Broke something, 100%. I don't know where we were in some like, my mom loves antiques. But I got into medical school, man. I was like, whatever, whatever, I'll break everything this time. And then I got accepted. And
man, push the clap button. Shout out to Boone Shop, right? Boone Shop, man. That's real, because like you said, most people aren't even looking to see what the story is behind the numbers, man. But the fact that somebody took the time to do that.
Absolutely not. And when I called down there, like to confirm that I had an interview, I like called down to I actually called down to the diversity and inclusion, whatever dude down there. I was like, let me just hit him up and see like if this really like true. I'm not gonna call the office and be like, am I really get an interview? I'm not gonna ask. So I was like, let me call this dude up and ask him. So I called his office and he's like, Aaron? I was like, how do you have my number? how do you just save my number? I call, and then like that, and from that point on, he was always in my corner. Like he had saved my number. He was one of the very few people that read my application. He had come in, him and one of his friends had come in. They were on vacation, came in after like reading my application, and came in from vacation and voted for me for the admission committee. And I always appreciate that. Wright State gave me a chance where, like I said, not a lot of people were even thought that I'd could become a good doctor. And so I'm always thankful for Wright State. I know it's a small school down in Dayton, Ohio, but they're the reason why I am who I am. They gave me an opportunity when no one did.
No, Wright State, they do some stuff, man. I know one of my mentees, I don't know if you know Omo, I don't know if she was there when you were there. She was former president of SNMA. I know she wasn't there, and she has had some good. She's actually about to graduate. Time flies, man. But I've heard some stuff about that school. Really looking out for people.
Absolutely, and we did a ton of recruiting, from underserved and like minorities in medicine. We had like my second or third year, we had like 25 people of color, and we were like the highest in the nation, secondary to all the HBCUs, obviously. But that's still an accomplishment. So like Dayton, Ohio, medical school, to really like take that and, run with it, that was huge. And so, I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of the work that, like I said, that the people at Wright State did to make that important.
Yeah, man, definitely. And kudos to them again for looking out. So tell me, neurosurgery, how did that decision come? Because that's not something you just like, and for the viewers who aren't plugged into the whole, academic medicine thing, to go into neurosurgery, you got to be top notch. So that means you went to Wright State and you did your thing. That's what that means. So how did that happen? How did you decide?
Hurt. Man, I was hurt when I got into Wright State because I got all those rejection letters. I was taking all those classes. I was like, how many times like people get like bad scores early on in college, and then they're trying for years to get over that hurdle. They're taking like retaking classes, taking both post-bac courses, trying to do like fellowships to try to get into medical school. So all those rejection letters, man, that scarred me. So when I got into medical school, I was like, I got blinders on. I'm going to do well. Like, I don't know what I want to do. I want to do surgery. I don't know exactly, but either way, I'm going to do well in school. So like all of that, taking 30 credits, I did really well in medical school. And so going to neurosurgery. So how your third year you start off, on rotations, they call it, on the wards, your first time walking into the hospital, trying to be a, doctor, even though you have a short white coat and
short coat
anybody because you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And I started off on surgery. So I really thought that I was like general surgery, right? I saw that general surgeon, like, oh, I'm gonna be general surgeon. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like, whatever. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do general surgery. It was my first rotation. I was like, I don't want to do this at all. And they put me on trauma. It was general surgery. I was on a trauma rotation. So I was working all these hours. Like, I don't want to do this. And so one time we didn't have a neurosurgery program. We didn't have a neurosurgery residency down at Wright State. But there was a level 1 hospital, and they had like a lot of private practice guys come and cover call. And it was a trauma night. I was on call, whatever. This badly banged up guy comes in from a motor vehicle accident. He was like aphasic, not moving inside one side. And like, I'm timid as all get out because I'm like, I don't want to hurt this person. I don't want to get, how traumas are. Things are all kinds of crazy everywhere. And sure enough, it was a Black surgeon, again, who was a community practice, the Black neurosurgeon. I walked in, and and no one really knows like head trauma. People don't really know what to do. And then the neurosurgeon walks in, he's the only one that really knows how to save the brain or like all kinds of ridiculous stuff. So anyway, I'm like on the wall, basically, back to the wall, and he looks at me. He's like, "Are you a medical student?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Have you ever seen one of these?" I'm like, "No, sir." He's like, "Come in." And so he let me scrub into his case, and like, I was on general surgery. I was so timid. I didn't like it. The most I ever did was like hold like a laparoscopic camera, like drive the camera, I didn't do anything. They wouldn't even let me like stitch anything. But he was not used to having residents, medical students. I mean, it was awesome. Like he let me do so much. He let me cut the dura of the brain. I never like did anything. He let me cut the dura of the brain as a like third year medical student. I was like blown away. I was like, oh my God. So I went home. I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is like, whatever, this is awesome. And I was like, whatever. So the next day, how we round, and we were round on the trauma patients. But I was like, you know what? Let me go over and see this patient. This is glance time. He's going to be in coma anyway. I just need to like see him my post-op. So I get it. I'll go on his room. I thought he was going to like be out, in a coma. And he's sitting there. He's just sitting up watching TV, going through the channels. Like, what? He just had this crazy stuff. He's removed it, saw his brain yesterday, sorted everything out. And this dude is just watching TV. I was like, okay, I want to do neurosurgery. Like, this is it. But I didn't realize how difficult that was. Every time I ask somebody like, oh, I want to do neurosurgery, I want to go into neurosurgery, like, oh, well, you have to have like, outstanding scores, research, have to like save the baby from a burning building, all kinds of crazy stuff. And like at Wright State, like I said, I love them, but they were not the, they didn't really push anybody into really high subspecialties from a surgical standpoint. So like I said, I still didn't have any money. I was in medical school, my mattress was still on the floor. Like, it didn't matter, even though, your classmates were driving like Mercedes-Benz SUVs or whatever, it's still on the floor. But I found I was looking at other programs, see if they had scholarships to pay for like me to come out and see like, procedures and things like that. And so Northwestern actually had a diversity inclusion residency fair, and they paid for everything. I came up here and and neurosurgery was supposed to be at the table. I went to the table and it was just a neurosurgery
So they paid for you to fly out there?
No, they paid for the housing and the travel. Like, all you had to like apply and show that you had like financial hardship or whatever, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But make a long story short, when I got there, it was just like a nameplate that said neurosurgery. No one even showed up. I drove like 6-7 hours, and I even got into an argument with my course director over all this. Like, she was like, "You're not going." I was like, "It's funny because I'm on the road right now." And like, because they told me last minute, I was like, "I gotta go. It's neurosurgery." Like, no, I didn't have a program there, and I went the whole entire way, and no one showed up at all. And I was like, "This is just like a waste. Like, that's crazy." And I didn't think anything of it. I went to a bunch of other stuff. But the crazy thing was that like 4 or 5 years, how many years? 4 years later, I would interview at Northwestern and actually bring that up. And it was very interesting situation. But yeah, they were like, "Oh, how do you know, like, this is Northwestern? How do you know that, like, how do we know that you're just not interested in just because this is just a program, neurosurgery program here? Like, how do you show that, like, you're interested in Northwestern?" I was like, "Well, I showed up 5 years ago. I drove 6 hours and no one even came to the table. So like, I've shown interest 6 years ago. It's up to you guys to show interest in me."
You play the shame card, man. Play the shame, like, shame on y'all for not showing up.
At the time, I was like, "Oh man, I just wasted all this time. I got into an argument, like, and it's like God works in mysterious ways, but how is this going to help me?" And it's like, you didn't realize, like, 4 years, like 3 years later, that like that would be a point of like emphasis during our interview. And I didn't even realize it, but that's how I got interested in neurosurgery and still pursued that. Unfortunately, I didn't match after. So I was, how it goes, but for listeners who don't understand how the whole match process goes, after you go through medical school, start your third year, you start kind of deciding what you want to do or specialty you go into. And your fourth year, you do sub internships or audition rotations and apply to certain hospitals in those specialties. And then I'm sure you guys may have seen on social media, but there's a match day that happens every March. And that's when the applicants or the medical students find out which hospitals are working at. And so there are certain specialties that are very competitive, neurosurgery being one of them. And let me just say this, it wasn't like I had been a bad applicant the entire time, every step of the way up until that point. Like, I had, like, obviously undergrad wasn't the greatest applicant, got in for football. Medical school, my GPA was like whatever in the ground. When I applied to residency, like I said, I was so hurt and from having those poor scores, I was just blazing on fire in medical school. I got straight A's. I never got a B in medical school. I got straight A's. There was a medical student of the year award that was given out every year. I won that 3 years out of the 4 years I was there. Wow. Because I was, like I said, I was so hurt from like not doing well academically and that hurting me that I didn't want that to ever be a reason. And so when I interviewed for neurosurgery, even though we didn't have a program, I got like 18 interviews. I'm like, "Oh, I'm good. I got all these interviews, like whatever." And then, match day, I found out that I didn't have a job. And so
what do you think it was? Why didn't you match? I want to tell you guys, man, Black Men and White Coast Youth Summits. Get ready, guys. About to be on and popping. about to be on and popping again, right? So we got 15 commitments, right? So 15 cities across the U.S. so far, and more coming in, right? That we plan to be in across the United States over the next year or so, right? 15 youth summits and more coming in. So if y'all interested in having a youth summit, send us a message. Tell us what city you're in. Send us a message on our Instagram at Team BMWC. Send us a message and let us know what city you're in and what cities we should be looking out to and working to get into, all right? So we're super excited to be bringing the summits back.
It's a Black Men in White Coats Youth Summit. Over 1,800 people registered. We're gonna inspire, mentor. We've got a lot of great stuff lined up for today.
There's a large population out here who has never seen a Black doctor.
It's a good feeling to have other young men around to help my boy realize that this is something that can come true.
I thought this would be a good opportunity to see how to become a cardiologist.
This event was really good for me, so I can be able to learn more about my passion and what I want it to be.
It's one thing to have a dream, but it's another thing to have the steps to make it come true. And that's what we're here today to do.
All of these resources, all of these doctors that were here today, it's incredible. It really is.
I know for a fact that we can get more Black men in white coats because of what I'm seeing here today.
Why didn't you match? Were you like short on the research side of things, or was it just you didn't play the game the right way? Your list wasn't right, or what?
I don't know. I will say this. I will say that like there are certain gates and systemic changes that need to be made to influence the diversity and face of medicine just in general, regardless outside of the application process. But if I were to look more just objectively at my application, so part of the issue is that in medicine, in academic medicine, and this is something I have a certain gripe with, is that we don't view community service, community leadership as important as we view academic research. And the whole point is impact, right? The whole point is impacting patients' lives. Either you can impact a patient's life in your clinic, you can impact them in the community. I think that we need to have just as important emphasis on the community work we do as we do the research, because okay, whatever you're applying to neurosurgery, people have 10 publications. But what if they had what if they created a bunch of community programs, homeless life skill courses for the homeless, went out and did all these speaking engagements for kids and mentorship programs. This should be just as held in as high importance as
because it's because people haven't figured out how to quantify that in a monetary way, right? As soon as people figure that out, and then you start getting rankings for community impacts, that's what's going to change. But until somebody says, "Hey, we're going to rank you based on your community impact," nobody's going to care about it. Somebody's got to figure that out. Come out with a ranking system, because ranking systems that are linked to money, that's what makes programs value certain things.
No, I completely agree. But I think that I had a strong application when it came to community service and leadership, and I don't think that was as viewed as highly as some of the academic successes of other applicants. And a lot of the, like you said, funding and things like that here, or in the academic world, are tied to research grants.
Yeah, but so then fast forward, tell me how you ended up getting into the program.
So I reached out to all the mentors, or I reached out to the places I did interview at. Some people didn't answer, some people just blew it off, whatever. There were very few people that I got on the horn with and actually talked on the phone with, and continued to develop those that mentorship relationship with them. And ultimately those were people who advocated for me and wrote great letters of recommendation for me, gave me more information and advice to get in neurosurgery, gave me additional contacts to reach out to. And ultimately I did all of that. I applied to every neurosurgery program. I only got a handful of interviews, but I made the most out of all the few that I did get. And it landed, like I said, I didn't match the first year, but then I landed at a place like Northwestern. So I'm super thankful to be here. Obviously given the whole situation, the whole story to even make it this point. And I think that Northwestern, and it's hard for any program to really put a huge emphasis on community work, but I think that they're evolving more to see just how important or much of an impact that we can make from a community service standpoint.
Huge, man. Kudos to you. So we're coming up on the time here. What I want to do now is to have a little fun. right? So I'm asking some randomness, some random stuff. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. First one, we're gonna go with LeBron, Kobe, or Jordan.
Oh, you know what?
Oh my goodness, you're thinking about this. You from Akron?
I got to. The thing is, I got to because I love little things. I love the always win mentality of Jordan. It's always win. It's like there's no other option. It's always win. And sometimes you have to have that mentality. And sometimes you're going to ruffle some feathers, absolutely. But you can't argue with the outcome. And certain points of excellence, you have to go straight through it, regardless of what kind of obstacles you meet. Kobe, man, he was so much more finesse. His game was just like Michael, but he had like the whole. I know it's like, oh, Mamba mentality. No, like the whole idea of like, oh, it's the end of the game. Give me the ball. It's either I'm going to shoot us in the game or I'm going to shoot us out the game, but I'm still going to shoot the ball. It doesn't matter. Like that mentality is like, I mean, it was just amazing to watch. Yeah, it was just amazing. But man, I'm Northeast Ohio. I'm Bron. I got to, man, Bron's the GOAT, man. I'm sorry. He went 3 different championships, 3 different teams. And you know how difficult, and like, I know it's like, oh, Cleveland, whatever. Like, you know how difficult it is to bring a championship to Cleveland? Not only people say a bunch of things, like, I'm going to bring a championship to Cleveland and actually do it. Like, I'm sorry. That's GOAT status. I'm sorry. And outside of all that, I know everybody does community stuff. Like Kobe has done I'm just learning now of all the community stuff he did. I didn't even realize he was that prominent from that standpoint. But I know a lot of stuff that LeBron does. I've been to the I Promise school. I've seen the kids and how they're improving. It's just amazing to see. Like there was one time in Akron that we didn't have a small town. We didn't have enough money for firecrackers. True story. We didn't have enough money for 4th of July firecrackers because it was going to cost like $100,000 or whatever. And so they were going to put them off for the year. And that was the year that LeBron, true story, had got a contract at 18 years old from Nike for $90 million in Akron. And he paid for our fireworks. He just did like crazy stuff like that for Akron. Like he does bike-a-thons where he gives away thousands of bicycles and all the kids ride down. Man, he does so much stuff, so much community stuff that like outside of basketball, he'll always be goated for that. And so, yes, I appreciate Kobe. I appreciate Michael. Here I'm being in Chicago. I wear Jordans all the time, but LeBron's a GOAT. I'm sorry. No, he's goated.
I tell you, I don't know the answer to the question, man, but you from Akron, so I was like he's got.
I'm biased, man. It's like I'm biased, like somebody from Chicago.
Akron, we're bringing the summit up there also. So that's right. So we're gonna have a summit up there also. So I need to stay plugged in. Maybe we get you out to that summit too. All right, twist or cornrows?
Cornrows. I like twist is in like dread type twisties, like long twisties.
Yeah.
Or cornrows. Like, I mean, I'm tender-headed. I'm sorry. Like I totally my head hurts all the time. But like, yeah, I mean, I just like cornrows. It's easy to take braids out and put them back in. Very easy other than twisties. That, and my hair is like, it doesn't nap up as much as I like it to. I know it sounds crazy, but there's just long like it just comes. It's not, nah.
Braids. All right, and then last one I ask you is, if you could be any artist, who would you be and why?
Like painting artists or rap artists or R&B artists or like just any
in general. Let's say hip hop, because I think hip hop would be easier for people to relate to and understand. Or music, not hip hop, but musician, any musical. Who not who would you be, but who are you? Like who are you? Who reminds you the most of you? Like who can you see yourself in based on their music or the behavior or whatever?
You know, I would like to think Jay-Z, but I'm not goated like Jay-Z, unfortunately. Like there are a lot of Jay-Z's that I look up to in the field of medicine that I need to get to. But so I think that will make me more of like a J. Cole, where I come and I see what I want to do. And then I just, I keep on working at it. And I think that J. Cole also has enough insight into where he stands in the community and his importance and what he can bring to the community. And I think he flourishes in that. And I like to think that I see myself where I need to be in the community, what I can offer and what I'd like to do in my goals. And I stay in that lane and try to flourish in it. And so I think from that standpoint, I'm probably J. Cole hopefully.
Nice. I love it. All right, man. So I'm gonna give you the last words, and just whatever you want to say. Last words, completely up to you. Would just like it to end with "I am a black man in a white coat."
Well, I thank you guys for listening to my story. It's an honor to be on this podcast. I love all the stuff that Black men in white coats are doing. I'm proud to even be in this position, to even have this opportunity to be a part of this podcast. I think if you can take anything from my story, it's that I was never a perfect applicant. Things never worked out as perfect for me as I would have liked, but that doesn't matter. All those are all outside things that could happen to you that you don't have any control of. The one thing you do have control of is what you can do and how you view yourself. And I think that is the most important to really accomplishing anything of any substantial importance. So my name is Aaron, or Dr. Palmer. I'm a black man in a white coat, and it's been an honor to be on this presentation.
I'm kicking flavor, no saga, yeah. Hey, I like them blues. I might go Janet like Jackson. I got them options, yeah. It's all about progression. Life is like a blessing. Everything a win, loss is like a lesson. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, ain't no time for stressing. I've been really stepping. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, if you wanna go get it, stop playing around. Really got on Rex, ain't playing around. Wanna go get it, stop playing around. Really got on Rex, ain't playing around. Black men, white coat, shit, we up right.